Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Plunderlings Feral CHEDAR figure. Now, I normally try to avoid reviewing things like this. This is not brought to you by some giant corporation like Hasbro or Mattel or a large company like McFarlane or NECA, things like that. This was a Kickstarter not that long ago, if my understanding is correct. It's been a while now. I've been sitting on this for a while. I've had a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, I tended not to review this kind of stuff. I did review the Four Horsemen's Mythic Legions in the beginning, but those are the Four Horsemen, and they've been making figures for large companies for forever. And also, I stopped that once I started my own action figure line, because I thought there's technically, sort of, conflict of interest, even though it doesn't, I don't look at it that way, but other people could, so I'd stop doing that. But Plunderlings person, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, sent me this. Maybe he doesn't want his name public anyway. Sent me this to review. He really wanted me to review it, so he sent it. So I'm going to review it, and you guys will see what it is. I don't know anything about the line other than what it looks like and the description on like Big Bad Toy Store, things like that. And I mean, like I said, I did talk to the person who runs at least the Instagram account for Plunderlings. But they wanted the review, so I'm going to do the review, and we'll go from there. So let's get it off the stand and take a closer look. Oh, before I do anything else, I want to mention there are some ears, some paperboard ears that come in the package. You can pop this out, stick the ears in, and then the package looks like the character inside of a crate, sort of, with ears sticking out. Just putting that out there. A little extra added value for the youngsters who may be getting these. So, well, I'll get into that. Okay, so this guy stands roughly 10 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to a little under 4. Well, let's say it's about 3 3¾ inches, not counting the mohawk. Okay, so what I was going to say is I don't know the targeted demographic of this, and I'm not sure there is one necessarily. My guess is, and I guess if anybody can correct me, go for it, because I said I don't know. I'm guessing this is aimed at adult collectors and younger collectors, not little kids, because it's got a lot of articulation and some points and things. It's like I don't know. I don't know what it's aimed at, so I'm not going to really guess, other than it does have articulation, so I'm going to review it as an articulated figure, obviously. It has paint everywhere, so I'm going to review it as an adult collectible, even if it is designed such that it could appeal to a younger audience as well. It does say on Big Bad Toy Store it's 1/12 scale, and since they're little goblin creatures, I'm guessing these are meant to be 1/12 scale, which is to say they're shorter than your average human, which would be Marvel Legends, which would stand, you know, up to here. So I guess these are aimed at audiences of all ages. That's my hunch, and it seems to have worked because the Kickstarter was successful and they keep selling them and everybody seems to love them, so that's cool. So congrats to them for their success. And I know you guys are thinking, what's going on with my Kickstarter? I told you I'm still working on the line, and I still am. It's a lot of work for one person to do on the side after doing everything else, so there will be a Kickstarter eventually. It will happen, it's just not happening right now. Okay, so aesthetically speaking, there is paint everywhere as far as I can tell, not counting like joints and things. And it looks pretty good. There's one thing that stands out as an issue, which is that his stomach, I don't know if this is going to show up on camera. On my screen on my camera, the colors look way off, but I'm hoping that's not actually the case. Yeah, I guess it looks okay on my computer. Anyway, the two torso pieces are not exactly the same. The one here needs probably another coat or something, because I'm guessing it's made out of the blue. Yeah, it's made out of the blue right here, and it's thrown off the color just a touch. It's not bad, but it is a little bit off, but otherwise it's really clean. The claws are painted glossy black. That's a nice detail. The belt is super clean. That's nice. The eyes are semi-gloss, it looks like, with a little bit of a white like reflection in there. The teeth are pretty good. I like that. The way they did the ear shading is very nice. That's nice and clean. That looks good. The pants are done well. These are actually a separate piece glued on, so that's a nice touch. You don't have to worry about painting that. The ankles are painted from this teal color to the orange, and that could be cleaner. Again, painting orange is one of the worst colors ever. It's one of the worst things you could ever try to do, so I feel for them, but it is a little bit off, but it's not too bad. We've seen worse for Marvel Legends, so I'll give them credit there. The feet have the most notable shading on them, whether that's intentional or not. There is shading on the tops of the feet. Hopefully you can see that. I don't notice a whole lot of shading anywhere else, so that's why I said I don't know if it's intentional or not. But it is a nicely saturated, well-painted figure overall. The hair is super well sculpted. I love that. I can't tell if it has shading or if it's just the way it's catching the light, but the sculpt is so sharp and nice that I love that. That's like my favorite part of the whole figure. And the cool thing is, even though we'll get to this later with the articulation, I mean the accessories, because I know what words mean, it's removable. So if you want them to be bald, you can do that. I'm guessing they did that because they have other figures that use the same head and different head pieces, whether it be a hat or hair or whatever. That's my hunch, but that's a really nice way of implementing that. And I didn't have any issues with rubbing or anything so far. Like, there's no paint transfer, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, it looks good. From an aesthetic standpoint, they did a really good job. Could it have more shading? Almost always. That's almost always the case, but I get it. So that's fine. Yeah, it looks good. The articulation is well situated so that it doesn't look clunky or anything. I think they did a good job. One point I guess I could make is that the head is very hollow so that you can have the articulation because of the giant head / little body combination. I'm just going to give that to them. I don't know what else they could have done, really. I guess you could have cinched that up and made it a double ball peg instead of a hinged ball peg. But again, you only really see it from the back, and it poses well, so I can't really complain. So yeah, aesthetically speaking, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. There are some problems, but acceptable ones considering the color of the paint. That's just the way it goes, really. So again, as far as accessories go, you do get the mohawk, which is either always on there or an accessory. It's up to you. But you have 3 heads. You have the closed mouth head, the teeth showing head, and then the open mouth head. They all look really nice. They're all very well done, equally well painted. You get some open hands on them in the package, and you get 2 gripping hands, and then you get the baseball bat, which is nicely detailed. That's pretty cool. I don't know, it looks to me like the handle part where the wrap is actually painted, so do be careful getting that in the hands. It would have been nice if that part was the plastic color so that it didn't transfer as easily, but hey, that's the way it goes. So decent spread of accessories, alternate heads, hands, accessory, 9 out of 10. Looks pretty good. Okay, now as far as the articulation goes, you do have, let me set that aside just so I don't grind it against the head as I'm doing stuff. You do have a big ball peg, which is, like I've said countless times, if you're going to do a ball peg, the bigger, the better. And that's a big one. And then you do have the hinge in here, which does move nicely. They did a good job with the QC, or the factory they are working with did a good job with the QC. So it does function well. There's a plastic chip from the joint, but he looks all the way up, no problem. Looks down, no problem. Yeah, it's very well situated. They placed the head right where it needed to be to get the right look and the right articulation, so that's good. It's just amazing to me how, I mean, in doing it myself and then looking at other smaller companies, not smaller than myself, but smaller than, like, say, Hasbro, which would be everybody, basically, you can get joints to work so well, so easily. It's amazing to me how often we struggle with Marvel Legends and things to have functional articulation. But yeah, that head is good. I would personally do a double ball peg. That way you don't have to have the gap. You wouldn't need as much of a gap if you had a ball peg in there. But either way, it works really well, so that's fine. For the shoulders, you have your swivel hinge, which goes up just better than horizontal, so that's very nice. And again, no issues with tightness or any problems there. Full rotation. And that feels like it would just be like a palm joint stuck into PVC, if I'm guessing. And that's how I would do it. That's how I will be doing it, and that's the way I would recommend it. It's perfectly effective, no problems there. You do get your single jointed elbow, which does afford, I'm just going to call it 90 degrees. I think it's probably a hair better than 90, but that's good. That's full rotation, or full bend, essentially, for something like this. All the paint that's falling off is just coming off of the joints, like you would see with NECA or anybody who paints on top of hard plastic. It doesn't stick. But that's just the way it is. And you do get your rotation there, and that works no problem at all. The way they've engineered the bicep to have the cutout in there, that bowl where the arm pegs in, it affords the range that you would need it to have. So that's good. Yeah, that's fine. That's what I would expect out of a single jointed elbow. And then you have your wrist swivel and hinge. That's good. No problems there. I do want to note they have the proper hinge in the gripping hand. That is awesome. That is how it's supposed to be done. If it's a gripping hand, it should be able to swing the item. Okay, for the torso, we have a ball peg. It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think you really need too much more than that. It leans back, leans forward, side to side. Could they squeak more out of there? I don't know. I can't say for sure, but yeah, that seems pretty good. It feels like a single ball peg. I don't feel any shifting, but it works pretty well, so that's fine. For the hips, going out to the side, let's see where they put their pivot point. Not far enough out. They don't go out to the side all that far. It's just about 45 degrees. And since this is a review, I will say what I'm going to say, even if the person who makes these figures is watching and makes a better line and then it sells like crazy and there's no money left in the market for my line. I'm not actually worried about that, but I'm making a joke because this is, again, not a Hasbro type product to review, so it's kind of a weird situation. But I'm still going to say everything I would normally say. If you move that pivot point on that hip farther out, instead of swinging the outer hip up, it'll swing the whole thing down, and you'll get better range out of those hips out to the side. So that's something to consider if you haven't already and can implement it anyway. That's something you might want to do. But they do go out 45 degrees, which is probably enough for most poses. Bring the legs forward, no problem. They go out pretty far. No issues there. Going back, I don't think you're going to get much. You're not going to get a whole lot at all, just a bit, because he does have some cakes. I think that's how you use that phrase. Thigh swivel is in there, that's good. Double jointed knee, I'm sure it's going to function like a double jointed knee, as they usually do. Careful for those butt cheeks though, don't want to grind any painted plastic against anything. Yeah, double jointed knees work nicely, really good range. Yeah, it's always a little tricky when you're dealing with like little tiny stumpy limbs and then giant feet and giant hands and like cartoonish designs, but they seem to have done a very good job. They also did something I like a whole bunch. I need to get a vacuum for all this paint that's flaking. I'm not complaining about the figure, it's just irritating me, my OCD. They did the joints the way I would recommend it, and it's not, like they left a little bit of a flat spot here, but it is mostly curved in. You don't see giant flat surfaces on the inside parts of the thigh and knee at the joint. So that's very good. It makes it look much more organic when bent. And a lot of the companies like to have those big flat surfaces because it looks more flush when it's straight, but then as soon as you bend it, it just looks terrible. So I like the way they did that. That's good and functional. For the ankles, let's see what kind of range we get. I haven't really messed with these too much. They go all the way back until they hit the cuff here, if we can focus. So that's good. That's plenty of range. That's really far. Going forward, the foot wants to catch on the opening. Let's see. Yeah, you can... Oh, it doesn't really want to go that much farther forward. Let's look on this side. So it looks to me like they have a very close gap right here. There's no extra room afforded at the top of the foot, so that when you do rotate it forward up the shin, since it's not a circle, like it could keep going around. If this piece was just a sphere, you could keep rotating the foot all the way around, but it's running into the shin bone a lot. Almost instantly, so you do lose a little bit of that forward motion. Could have more, but it does have some. And then as far as the ankle rocker goes, that's pretty good. It's not off at too much of an angle, so I like that. Should be able to get your posing done. So yeah, they did a good job. It's easily on par with something like this design that Hasbro would put out. It's probably better. Hasbro tends to screw up basic articulation, and this guy did a really good job. This figure, not the guy who made it. I don't know who did it. I'm not being disrespectful. Whoever made these, whoever designed the engineering, did a good job. It was well thought out. A few things could be improved, I would say, but all in all, it's a very posable, fun figure. I'm not running into any issues as far as like it being annoying to pose or anything like that, which could easily happen with a figure like this. Just be aware that it does have big feet and hands, so as you're posing things, you don't want to grind stuff against other stuff. But yeah, they did a good job with the articulation. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. They did a good job. I can't think of too much that needs serious improvement. I can't think of anything, really. Just a few tweaks here and there, and I'm sure they're already thinking of most of those things, if not all of them anyway. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I like it. I think they did a good job with these. This is a good line. I can see why it's successful. If you're into this sort of thing, whether you're a younger collector or an adult collector just trying to get some more fun stuff in the collection to add to, like maybe a bunch of these guys are attacking Batman. I don't know, something on your shelf like that. I'm sure the creator of these was thinking that kind of thing when they designed them, and I'm sure that's why a lot of you are buying them. So yeah, I can totally see that. So yeah, if I had to give it a final rating, an overall rating, I would say, now I guess I have to include the price point. These things run 40 bucks, I believe, retail, 40 bucks retail. And that's going to come down to production numbers, I'm sure of it, not size or even quality, but they do have good quality as far as I can tell. Like I said, some things could be a little bit better, but it's understandable for what it is. So I think the price point's reasonable for like a what would I call it, independent developer type thing. Smaller quantities means higher price point. There's just nothing you can do about that. So I think it's fine, perfectly reasonable. So yeah, I'll give it an overall rating of, I don't know, 8 or 9 out of 10. Again, for what it is, I think they did a really good job, and congrats to them for their successful launch of a unique IP. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.